I know we have a social behavioral protocol template that's also included as part of the toolkit, so that we have a little bit less burdensome of a template for the non-clinical trial type research. But again, all embedded into the library. And the goal here is that as a PI, I can log in and it's a one-stop shop for everything that I need.
And the one thing I'll point out too, if you look at these documents, each one of those is a hyperlink and it opens up a Word document, as you can see from the file extension there. But you can also see those numbers. These have iterated over time. So obviously a few years ago, our toolkit library of documents was moving a lot faster than our software with all of the common rule changes and then the delays and the different interpretations of the regulations. So these documents are upgraded on a separate cadence from the software. So we're constantly making software improvements and putting those new versions out every 6 months. We've talked about all week on a separate cadence and individual from the software.
COVID outbreak, we created a new form specific to COVID-19 research and rolled that out more quickly. And because it's just a supplemental form, it's not something that you even needed to alter the system for. It would just be an attachment to a new submission. So we try to keep the system in mind when we're updating the toolkit. Not all toolkit users are system users, but we also want to make sure it's useful across our client base. All right, so with that, I'm going to log out as the administrator and I'll log in as the PI, and we'll dive in now to initial study creation. And like I said, please don't be shy. If I move too fast or you have questions, don't hesitate. So I know some of you folks on the phone have seen demos and you understand what screen we're at, but for any folks that are maybe new to the conversation, I've logged in as the PI. Because this is integrated with other modules, you can see that there's agreement, COI, et cetera, the different modules. And then my dashboard is showing me not just IRB specific submissions. This is everything that this PI is associated with. Tells us the state, who their coordinator is, the date that they were modified, what the name of the submission is, and that ID. And then it also has links over here to what you've reviewed recently. So while you may have this long list, and this would be in the case where, let's say I'm a PI who's also an IRB member, this tab can filter out just specifically things that maybe need your action as a reviewer. I also have this handy dandy navigation activity on the side that allows me to create. And it's open with agreements, but you can navigate down here to IRB and create a new study or report new information. You also can just go to the IRB tab, which now filters down just your IRB specific information, studies that you have in a review state, so things that are in process, your studies that are active, any new information reports that are being reviewed or that have been completed. External IRB, so any of your submissions where you have an external IRB, that's the IRB of record. Relying sites, this would be studies where UNT is the IRB of record and you have other sites that are relying on UNT for review. And then all submissions. So it just basically takes the filter away and you can find anything that you've been working on, and then your archive submissions. The other thing I'll point out is there's some additional filtering you can do within each of these tabs. And that is just add an additional layer to UNT demo study. And we include a brief description of the research. So question 4 helps drive some of the workflow. What kind of study is this? Multi-site or collaborative or single site study? For the purposes of this demo, we're going to select single site. if you selected multi, you had other sites relying on UNT. Will an external IRB act as the IRB of record? In this case, we're going to say no. Again, if I were to say yes, a new page would be created that would ask for all of that external IRB's information. Local principal investigator. So I'm logged in as Rebecca Sims, so that auto-populates who I am as the local PI. It's just a thing I like to point out because we know sometimes it's research coordinators or maybe students that are creating these submissions, and so their name will pop up and they'll actually need to go in via the selector list and identify who the actual PI is for the study. But for the demo, we'll keep it as Rebecca.
Which is a good point, Candy. And we've talked about this in some of the other demos, how your research coordinator, your department administrator can create all of these records and select who the contact PI is. And then up until that end of that development stage to actually submit it into workflow. And you'll see this here again as well. But common theme throughout all the modules, we do rely on that PI to actually be the one that, at least looks everything over and clicks the button to submit it, because that's where we capture that electronic signature.